permission first. Oh, there we go. All right. I'm here with Trevor Nilsson with the Bear River Canal Company. We're gonna just talk about some management strategies, some different operations on his canal, and hopefully get some perspective on uh, what what he does and how we can apply that to things we've learned in our class. First off, Trevor, I just ask you to introduce yourself a little bit. What is your title and some of the responsibilities that you have associated with your job?
So my name is Trevor Nelson. I'm the general manager of the Bear River Canal Company. We provide irrigation water for 68,000 acres of highly productive farm ground in Box Elder County, as well as all of its communities. We are strictly an irrigation company. We don't provide any culinary or industrial water. Um, and we utilize 126 miles of canals to do that. And we divert about 900 CFS at peak load. And um, we utilize 5 main canals, 5 lateral canals, and we have 530 distribution points or head gates to deliver that water. We schedule our water by a weekly allocation, so they get so much time per week or such a um, the legal and political interactions of the company as well. And then I am in charge to be the liaison with our engineering firm, JB Engineers.
Awesome, thank you. A quick follow-up on that. The Bear River Canal Company is a public company, right? It's owned by the public. Is that correct?
No, it's a privately held stock company. So
Okay.
we're a 501(c), not for profit corporation. So, um, yep, we
Okay.
answer to our shareholders.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so you described it a little bit, the system that you managed. That was my next question. So you covered that already, and you talked a little bit about the distribution to um, the users. Is that an on-demand system or turn-based? How do they get their water and like what's their allocation and things like that?
So it's turn based. And so we essentially have a weekly volume per share that we deliver. And then the shareholders, based on their point of delivery, have a different flow rate. So it's a simple mathematical equation to determine how much time that they have in order to receive that allocation. Some people they're on all the time with a very small flow. Some people are on for a very short period of time with a very high flow.
Okay, very cool. So it sounds like you have some ability to manipulate how much water each person is getting at times because different fields require, like you said, you have low flows for some people that they get it for a long period of time. Other people, they just want all their flow in a day. And it sounds like you guys have the ability to manage for that at different systems. Is that dependent on their connection or is it dependent on like which canal they're attached to?
It's dependent on their connection. So when you set up a head gate with the canal company, we establish a flow, and that can be changed if, let's say you went from a flood irrigation system to a drip system or a sprinkler system. Those both have longer irrigation durations, but much lower flows.
Right.
One of the barriers to entry we deal with is that with these new systems, usually there's more than one farmer on each outlet. And so they
Okay.
take turns. So Farmer John gets Monday through Tuesday, Farmer Joe gets Tuesday through Friday, and Farmer Jill gets, the rest of the week. When you make that change and you want to change to a much lower flow, the remaining people on the ditch, their systems may still be in the higher flow mode, in which case you can't change the flow because their systems still needed to do that way. So one of the issues we're dealing with is really unless you get everybody on board with an improvement and you all improve together, it can be really difficult to change how you operate. Some of the ways they've dealt with that is, for instance, strip systems, they'll put in a holding pond. So on their turn, They'll fill it with the high flow rate, and then they take it out on demand, converting our system from a to an on-demand system for them.
Right, I've seen that. I worked with the NRCS for a few years, and I saw we helped design a couple of those systems on canals that were not as lenient as yours as far as the head gate goes. That, or maybe it was the similar situation where they just couldn't get their neighbors to also get on board with changing to a pivot or something like that. Um, the next question I want to ask, or kind of very often talk about, is some of the technology that you guys implement on your canal. I know through my experience with working with you guys that you guys are a little bit more innovative as far as how you manage your canal and some of the technology that you try to implement. Um, just could you describe some of those things, some of those processes that you guys have improved with different technology?
Yeah, so probably our biggest technological leap we're working through right now is we're implementing the Rubicon Water TCC system, or Total Channel Control System. Essentially, what it does is it focuses on only delivering exactly the amount of water demanded by the users. In our system, if you're cutting your crop, your hay crop, for instance, you may skip a water turn because you've got your crop down for harvest. As a result, not everybody uses every turn every week. The other thing is on the shoulders of the season, individuals don't need as much water. The ET demand, transevaporatory demand, is nowhere near as high as it is on the 4th of July. And so people will get all their crops watered, and then they'll take a week or two off, and they'll go back at it. And so that means that we have variable demand. So how we deal with that variable demand is we have this automated gate system we're installing. And essentially what happens is the gates, these are the check structures that actually control the canal itself, not the individual turnout gates. These are the gates in the middle of the stream. And essentially what they do is they talk to one another and ask each other for what they need. So in other words, the gate downstream will call to the gate upstream and say either I'm just right, I need more, or I need less. And the gate above it fulfills that demand. And then it in turn, based on what its needs are to maintain the water level and the demand in that pool, calls the next one up. And it turns into this daisy chain that goes all the way back to the dam. And it increases right now with the static system we had, the Pioneer block system that we had. Our response time is roughly, there's 24 hours of travel time, and it takes us about 6 hours to assess what needs are in the morning. So it made a 30-hour response time. We should be able to cut that response time to less than 4 hours with the TCC system. And the other thing is that's only if we have to make manual adjustments at Cutler Dam. If it's integrated all the way through, um, uh, the adjustments will happen live. And
Wow.
so it helps us so that we don't spill any water, but we also don't short our farmers. One thing that people don't realize is when you short a crop, it takes quite a bit of water to get the crop to not become stressed. And whereas it would have taken much less water to have just provided exactly what it needed and
Yeah.
prevent the crop from stressing. And so that's the name of the game, is providing no more, no less, but exactly what they need. Another innovation that we've implemented is we've applied the mathematics of constrained optimization. And so what that is essentially, um, if you could think of all 530 head gates as a piece of a puzzle, we had this schedule all stitched together. And the idea is that when one gate of a certain flow in a small spatial area goes off, another one nearby needs to come on that's about the same size in order to keep the canal balanced, so that you
Right.
don't have highs and lows in the middle of the canal system because of gates turning on and off. The ideal situation is the gate across the canal turns on when you turn off. But the problem is that the stream sizes are customizable by the users, and they're not all spatially located in the exact same place. And so we broke the canal up into reaches and did a constrained optimization, which essentially takes the puzzle and smashes it on the floor. And then you try to put all the pieces back together with as little gaps as possible. Is it perfect? No. But we went from having 60 and 70 CFS differences in flow demand on a day-to-day basis to in the neighborhood of 20.
Yeah.
And even those undulations are much shorter time periods. And if you think about it, these are all like large they're little reservoirs all the way down. These check structures are, so they
Right.
can take a little bit of short term out of balance, but it's those long term. There was too much water scheduled on Thursday, Friday, and not enough on Monday, Tuesday, and you end up with too much water 2 days of the week and not enough water, and it just kind of flattens it out. So we ended up with a
Right.
really well behaved distribution. And so we can say that our system is quite literally scheduled down to the minute. And we look to try to move variation to zero on a per minute basis.
That's impressive, and I I applaud you guys for implementing, that all the technology and the different processes and things because it's not easy to do and it's not always well accepted. That's going to be my last question is how do your farmers that you guys serve respond to these changes that you're making? You're asking them to take water at different times to make the puzzle fit together better. Have they been responsive and willing to work with you guys, or are they kind of irritated, or I guess by these changes?
So we already rotated the schedule 36 hours every year, but
Okay.
that meant that you had the same start time, except for it was in the opposite AM or PM. So it was a little bit rough when you said, well, we're completely changing it all up, and they all grumbled about it. But when they realized that people on the ends of the canals actually received their water in a more consistent fashion, um, they were generally accepting of it. There's still some people that are a little upset that now they don't have the really good time they used to have. And then with the automation, certainly there's individuals on the ends of the canals, because how you compensate in a static system is you over deliver to the ends so that you always make sure you have something on the end. And so
Right.
those individuals who were essentially milking the cow for free now are only going to get exactly what they're entitled to, and that's a pretty tough pill to swallow when you've been
Yeah.
regularly getting more than you should have been.
Yeah, I can understand that if you've been irrigating on, you know, twice your share because you have to over deliver and then they kind of get into their mind that that is their share. And
Yep.
yeah.
75% of my water fights in the system are over the extra water, not over the water they're entitled to. It's rather ironic.
Yeah, no one's getting underserved, everyone's fighting to be overserved. I've seen that in my own experience as well. That's all I have for you, Trevor. If there's anything else you feel like would be useful to an agricultural water management class, I'd love to hear it. But otherwise, I'll let you get back to your day. I know that you stay pretty busy.
No, I appreciate the call, and appreciate students reaching out and learning a little bit more. I always feel like engineers that go out having understood a little bit more about the field before they get there provide a better finished product to me as a user. So, anyways, appreciate your time, and I hope this has been valuable for you.
Yeah, it has. It was a great conversation, and I appreciate your time as well.
Okay. You have a
Thanks,
good day.
Trevor.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.